town halls, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid all over the state. For this week, we've been really fortunate to have with us Kingson, the co-founding director of Social Security Works.
There is a huge battle going on to preserve the basic foundation of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The thing that the politicians will listen to is not all the chattering in Washington, D.C. It's going to be sending the voices of Americans from around the country to Washington. Nancy Pelosi has made noises that she's open to this so-called grand bargain our president wants to do. He has put cutting your benefits and your children and your grandchildren's benefits right on the table. They know they cannot cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid in discrete legislation. You bring up this legislation, Americans are going to tell their members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, do not cut Social Security, do not cut Medicare, do not eviscerate Medicaid. But if you can throw it into a package and talk about it in a frame of austerity, of somehow we have to deal with Social Security to be adults and we have to cut it, by throwing it into this grand bargain, this package, it becomes possible to cut it. We built Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid because we needed critical systems that would be in place that would serve the entire nation. Like our highway system, systems that are there that we can count on when they're needed for retirement, but also they're the nation's life insurance program for our children, the nation's basic disability program. There's nothing that provides more widespread protection. Take this recent near collapse of our economy. Americans lost 401k income, they lost pension income, they lost housing income, they lost jobs. They did not lose Social Security. It was there. They did not lose Medicare. They did not lose Medicaid. You are among the 5 million Californians who receive Social Security each and every month. 3.5 million older people, retired persons and their spouses, but also people with disabilities, and even 360,000 children in California. Each month, $5 billion comes into California through Social Security, and that's right into the pockets of Californians. Each month, we have almost 5 million people receiving Medicare and 11 million people receiving Medicaid or Medi-Cal in California. 1 in 7 people in San Francisco receive Social Security benefits. That's 112,000 people in 2010. How many in here want Social Security cut? Woo! How many don't want it cut? Okay.
You have to peel our cold, dead fingers off of our Social Security.
All right.
Just like the NRA said.
Big mouth seniors.
Yeah, thank God you are. We need our mouths to protect this system.
We have all been paying into the system, and those of you who are receiving benefits now are getting them in part because the people who are currently working, like I and myself and all of your wonderful staff at SDA, are paying in to the system so that those of you who are currently getting benefits can keep getting them. And our goal is to have jobs and benefits paid into by our kids and our grandkids so that eventually we can receive the benefit like all of you are. It is a universal system that we all depend on, and in part that's why it has worked so well and why it has such huge public support regardless of political persuasion. Every time I hear Eric speak and I think about this, it just makes my blood boil. How dare they even talk about cutting these programs? These are our programs. We paid for them. It's our bank account. And this is what we all depend on. Social Security has contributed not 1 penny to the deficit. For Medicare and Medicaid, the proposals on the table, which include raising the beneficiary age for Medicare from 65 to 67, is not only another bunch of BS. It's a huge benefit cut. It means that we are potentially unable to continue to get health care coverage. Medicare is the health program that serves the hardest to serve population. It serves people who are older, who have more chronic illnesses, who use the healthcare system regularly in order to maintain their health, as well as people with disabilities who similarly use the system more often. In Medicare, at any given time, close to 80% of the beneficiaries are using the system, and yet it continues to be able to provide coverage to everybody in the system and operates at under 3% overhead. And this is the hardest to serve, most costly population. So the answer to Medicare is not raising the retirement age so that even older, sicker, unhealthy people are in it. The answer is to put the younger people in it. So Medi-Cal is the supplemental insurance for people who are income eligible under a certain income. And it covers the things that Medicare doesn't cover. It is a key component of the Affordable Care Act. In fact, in California right now, there's a bill that we're actually supporting that would expand eligibility for Medi-Cal to many more people, not just seniors, not just kids, but all Californians who, if under a certain income, would be eligible. Because the whole idea of the Affordable Care Act was to bring more people into the system. If we had a universal system where everybody was in, as your legislator Tom Amiano says, from storm to war, then we would not have to be having this conversation about cutting Medicare or Medicaid at all. And that's where we should be focused, not on these ridiculous cuts. And ultimately, put people at the doorstep of the emergency room, which is the most expensive way to get your health care. We need to avoid that, both from a human perspective, because no one wants to wind up in the emergency room, but also from a fiscal perspective. We have to talk about this as a family campaign. It's not a senior campaign. It's not a campaign only for people with disabilities. We are all in this together. I'm a parent of kids who are still in school, and I have a parent who is living only on Social Security and Medicare. We struggle as a family, as many of your families do, to figure out how to make sure we're taking care of each other. And the way we hold it all together is by making sure that we have these systems in place that let me sleep at night knowing my dad is getting a check every month and his health care is being covered, and that my kids have health care when they need it. What I hope we'll all do when we leave here today is be talking not just to each other, but to our kids and our grandkids, because if we have to fight for it, and the next generation has to fight for it if we want to have it for the future.
The change CPI, the cut in the Social Security COLA, looks like it's going to be the thing that Obama wants to negotiate away. A normal person earning money who retires at 65, 15 years later will lose $6,000. For a person 95 years old, to be the equivalent of 3 months worth of groceries that would be lost every year.
You know the answers to their lies.
Lie number one. What do you say when they say Social Security is just a handout for you? You haven't earned it.
We paid into it. Fantastic. Came out of our salary.
Our money is not
It's our money. Okay, sweetheart, you got 100%.
our money.
We have the power. Senior power. I have been talking to you for years about us getting together, maybe all going to Washington, look at a lot of the monuments, walk over to the White House, and have a senior riot. If we all sat down, we couldn't get back up. And what would the papers look like with people manhandling little old seniors? It would be wonderful. I do like good-looking policemen to help me out. We can do other things to make our voices heard. I want you, with your breakfast, with your coffee, with your tea, to call the president, to call your senators and congressperson, and tell them, hello, my name is, and I am a constituent. No cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Thank you very much. Golly, Social Security is part of the deficit problem. You tell them, hell no!